Okay, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Friday lunchtime. So that means that we're doing what we call our skills broadcast, where we learn something. I'm hoping that you've all had a wonderful week. I had probably one of the most difficult weeks for a long time, and I'm going to be talking to you about that as we go along. So first things first, I wanted to make sure that you know. Um, just bear with me a second, that if you are new to the broadcast, welcome. And feel free to listen in, feel free to join in. Just be aware that if you do join in, although your comments won't stay on the broadcast when it stays on YouTube later, my comments will. So if you want to say something to the room, but don't want me to talk about it to you, then just put a note there that says, Sal, don't discuss, or don't discuss with me. Just so I know that I can talk about the subject, but I just don't associate your name with it. All right. So that's how we do it here. And it's just wonderful to know that you are here and that you are willing to help yourself grow. And that's what we're all about. Dear Mama Sal is a group of people that act like an extended family. We hold one another's hands through the ups and downs of our lives. Hi there, Judy. And one of the things that I want you to know is that we all go through good days and bad days, all of us. It's not just you. And that includes me. And that's why I just wanted to bring up this subject this week about, have you ever felt lost? Have you ever felt that you just were spinning your wheels and you didn't know what you were doing? And if you did, I want to tell you, I totally get it. And the reason I say that is because it's a scary feeling, isn't it? And I cannot tell you how difficult it was for me. If you have a subject, like what do I do when I feel lost, please send it to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. And we will do our best to, if it's a subject that I believe that the viewers need or want to participate in, then I will add it to my list. And, when it actually goes up is really a case of how many things I put before it or not. I have an ongoing list of subjects that I talk about, and I'm always delighted when you add to that list. So write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com, and feel free to write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com anytime. Right? If you need a bit of help or whatever, make sure that, that you write to me. And if you would like a one-on-one with me, also let me know that, and I will book some time for you. All right, so coping with our minds. All the stuff that we do here on Dear Mama Sal is about coping with love life and other problems, but coping with our minds is perhaps the biggest challenge of all. And I want to say that all the regular viewers know that, we deal with two base situations. One is that we get stuck in emotion, and the other is that we deal in reality. And I always show a graphic of that. Let me put that up right now so that we all know exactly what I'm talking about. And that really is the simplest way that I can show you what's going on. So this is your emotion, and this is reality. And I'd like to actually say that this is getting on with your life. Okay? So this is being stuck 9 times out of 10, and this is getting on with your life. Now, if any of you have been stuck in emotion, it feels like a hamster wheel going round and round and round, and you just don't know how to get out of it or don't want to get out of it. But what I discovered when I was doing a bit of research is, and I didn't know this, I don't mind telling you, that every thought that you have travels through that emotional part of your brain before it gets to the logical reality, side of it. So once I realized that, I realized, boy, now we have a way to help everybody if they want to be helped. Now, I say if you want to be helped because, quite honestly, sometimes you need to stay there and do the work. And what is the work, you ask? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that with my example. So I like to think of it as the difference between being stuck and getting on with your life. And if you've ever been there, you will know how incredibly difficult it is. Oh, just dropped the pen lid. Hang on a second, people. All right, so you will know exactly how difficult that is to be in that space. And I am going to explain to you what happened to me, how it came about, and then what I did to get out of it, so that you can see it's not just you, it's all of us. Anybody that is a human being has days or moments or sometimes months of going through this self reflection and all those sort of things. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do so here and click on the bell as well. And the bell will ask if you want all the notifications, and the answer is yes. In case I do an extra broadcast, it'll let you know. Hi, Chip, good to see you. And so one of the things that I have found is that coping with our minds is perhaps the most difficult challenge that people have. All right, it's like you accept that you are in control of your mind or not. Right? And that's one of the ones where I ask myself, who's in control of my mind? Am I, or is some other thing in charge of my mind? And I keep reminding myself that's my job. If it's emotional, it's my job to sort it out. Jody's saying, I've had situations where I was stuck in that hamster wheel of emotion, was doing the work to move forward, but didn't recognize the value of the work until much later. Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it, Jody? So how we sort of go, I'd rather not be responsible, right? I liked it better when I could blame everybody else. I don't know about you guys, but I used to say that quite a bit. Bring this down a bit. I got my It's Judy's Life T-shirt on. I just realized it. This is when they first had Juliana. Actually, I don't wear it very often. It's a special one for me. All right, so here we go, and let's think about this. The first problem I had, it's August. Now, August, for some reason, is a very difficult month for me. And, you can go, why, Sal? Well, number one, it's my birthday month. I've got a birthday coming up. And so that is always difficult. It's going to be even more difficult this year because of the pandemic and the fact that I can't have everybody over for a meal, which makes me very sad. But number two, it is probably the worst month of the year on YouTube for viewers. And, that upsets me as well. And then third, I am missing people, all right? And when I say I'm missing them, I live alone. I don't have family here in Canada. As you know, Benji, Judy, and the girls are sitting in the States. I can't get to them. I can't hug them. I can communicate with them, that's fine, but I'm a hugger, and I am missing those hugs and that spontaneous laughter and stuff like that. So I am aware of what happened. And then, if any of you can relate to this, this all started brewing, I would think, a couple of weeks ago. Have any of you noticed that it sort of creeps up on you little bit by little bit more. And if you don't sort of address it immediately, it just starts getting more and more heavy, if you like. And then what happened was I was feeling really weird about everything. And then I woke up the other morning, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember which it was, and I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do with me, my life, with Dear Mama Sal. I just was totally scattered and incredibly sad. Do any of you relate to that? It's like a feeling of, life's going on and I don't know which path to take. Have any of you ever felt that? And so I wasn't sure what to do with Dear Mama Sal. I felt totally scattered about everything else. Oh, interesting. Chip's saying, Chip, I know you under another name. I know that, but I just don't know what name I know you under. All right, August is not my month either. I'm totally relating to you. Well, I want to tell you with tears in my eyes, that makes me feel a whole lot better. Because, I felt so isolated and alone. And I didn't have to be, but I didn't feel almost safe in some way. Jody's saying, hang on a second. Jody's saying, if I keep all the emotion in and don't deal with it, there's a day where the tiniest little thing goes sideways and the dam breaks. Yes, absolutely. And that is what happened. The dam broke for me. I think it was, as I said, Tuesday or Wednesday. And so how many of you can understand that this is totally normal? That's the point I want to make. This isn't that we are losing it and we need to be locked up in the funny farm. This is, actually, we don't do that anymore, do we? This is perfectly normal. It is, I look at it as, okay, it's time to do some work on you. I spend my life sort of trying to help other people, but every now and then I need to stop. And it seems to happen in August. Isn't it strange? And so can you see that it actually is a good thing, not a bad one? And you see, I don't think emotion is bad ever. And if you think about it, if you are emotional, there's a reason for it. True? I found out, after years of noticing that when I got really frustrated, I cried. I don't know if any of you relate to that. If I got really frustrated about something, I would cry. And then one day I learned enough about myself and I went, why do you always cry when you get frustrated? And the reason was because I didn't feel I could say what I wanted to say to the person in front of me. You know what I mean? Because, little girls should be seen and not heard. And, that was a boss or something. And if I couldn't tell them that I thought they were a raving idiot, I would cry. The tears would start running out of my eyes. The frustration level would be so high that it pushed all that emotion out as tears. And, it took me a long time to work that one out. And so then I learned to get some words around that and say, there are words that I want to say right now that I'm not going to for fear of losing my job or whatever it was at the time. But I need to tell you, this is very frustrating for me because I need you to understand something, and I'd find another way of wording it. So Jody's adding, and by the way, if you don't know who Jody is, she's our admin. So she chirps in all over the time so that we can discuss these matters a little faster. So Jody's saying that really this whole thing that we're talking about is mental housekeeping. How about that? That's a lovely expression, isn't it? The whole reason that the dam burst on me, it was time to get my house back in order. Now then, let me ask you, seeing as Jody worded it that way, when you need to do some housekeeping, How do you do it? Do you do it room by room? Do you do it a little bit in every room every day? How do you do your mental housekeeping? And, if you think about that, it'll sort of help you. If you know how you do your regular housekeeping, it's probably the same way you're going to do your total housekeeping. For example, for me, I do a lot better if I do a little bit in each room every day than if I try and do just one room. I get bored very easily with just one room. So if I do a little bit in every room, then I can get a lot more done. All right, so Jody's saying in her life, the high traffic areas get attention first. Yeah. And, for some of you, it's probably, where if people open the door, what are they going to see? Right. And I've got a situation going on in my life where I am sitting in the area that you first see when you open the door. And some of you know I've got one of those tables that pops up like this, becomes a desk for me. I've got my television in front of me. I've got a beautiful stone fireplace, nice and warm, cozy. But what I've noticed, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Jody, what I've noticed is it's beginning to upset me that the most untidy part of my house, the place where I think and work and everything else, is the very first thing that people see when they walk in the door. The desk is always up. So therefore you're looking at the stuff that's inside the desk. That's not good. So there are a lot of things. And so I had to sit and think about it. Is that what I want to continue to do? All right. Do I want to continue to have this area? Hi, Velda. Do I want to continue to have this area as the first thing that people see? And I decided not necessarily, no. So therefore, I need to make a change. All right. So like any housekeeping, if you've got something that you don't like, then you need to make a change. Why? Because if you keep on doing what you've always done, you're going to keep having the same results. So I had this meltdown on Tuesday. And let me ask you, when you have one of these, I am totally at a loss. What sort of thoughts do you have? I want to know if yours are the same as mine. When you're just scattered and you don't know what direction to go in and all those sort of things. I had all sorts of really negative thoughts about myself. I felt I was drifting and going nowhere. Chip saying I was rear-ended on Tuesday. Wow. So maybe Tuesday was a bad day for more people than just me. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're safe and the person who rear-ended you. By the way, if you have been rear-ended, I really recommend that you get x-rays done and get a proper medical check. And the reason is because I was rear-ended once and I didn't. And I ended up with a whole series of problems that happened to me, and only years later did I find out they were all related to the rear ender. And 30 years later, when they took x-rays of my spine, they actually said to me, you were in a car accident. Somebody probably rear-ended you. Wait a minute, let me tell you when. And they sort of studied the x-ray and went, probably about 30 years ago. And I go, how on earth do you know that? And they said, the damage to your spine. So make sure you get it checked out. All right. So Jody says that when she goes into this spiral of being scattered and not having direction, she says things to herself like, it's never going to get straightened out. I'm a loser. How many of you relate to that one? Incapable of managing my life or my emotion. Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely felt like I was going nowhere fast. I also thought, Jody, that I am a loser. And I don't know about you, but I've got certain things in my life that are red flags to me that says smarten up. Right? When I hear myself say these things to myself, I go, red flag, smarten up. Now, why do I say that? Because I spent my life, probably 50% of my life until the age of about 40s, I think, in situational depression. And the light just fell down. That's nice. And so I now know to watch out for the things that are warning signs for me. And one of them is that I'm a loser. Now, self-loathing of any sort, all right, is a pretty big warning sign that you're in an emotional hamster wheel. And I know that if I don't address the self-loathing, then the vortex will start and I could end up back in depression again. I'm wondering if any of you relate to that. Chip saying, yes, I was at a complete stop, just me with my dog. This is about the rear end. I will, Sal, I didn't think of getting an x-ray. I spiraled too. I just gave in to my emotions. I figured it's healthy to go with feeling frustrated. Yes, as long, Chip, as you do the work on why are you frustrated. You know, if you can, whenever you feel this sort of stuff, ask yourself the question, why are you feeling frustrated? You see, one of the things, Chip, I needed to do was to ask myself, why are you feeling lost? You know, there's a good reason for it. Jody says one of her red flags is she starts snapping at Lionel, her husband, when he asks the most innocent of questions. I know I'm in trouble emotionally. Time to take stock. Great example, Jody. Right? So we each, if you are doing the work, you know, because it's about us, and, you know, you really know that you've got, you know, emotional intelligence when you can see this is our stuff, not somebody else's. All right. When you go, it's got not to do with them, it's to do with us. And so Carolyn Ferreira said, feeling lost is a lot like depression. So if any of you have had depression, you know that feeling lost is something that you recognize because you've had that feeling before and you didn't like it. I'm pretty sure anybody who's ever been in depression will say that was not my idea of fun and I don't want to go back there again. I want to tell you that the day that those situational depressions stopped was the day that I realized the pills were not going to do it for me, right? And how did I know that? I took the pills for years, you know, and I still was in trouble every year. And so to me, it was like, okay, I've got to do something else. I've got to change what I am doing. So when I get any of these red flags, the first thing I think about is, what am I going to do about it? As you know, right? We got two choices. It's quite simple. And that's why I like to keep it as simple as possible, which is we can stay in that emotion and the hamster wheel, that's a choice, or we can do something. All right. The only way that you get out of here and over to here is to live life. And to live life means you need to do something. How many of you thought, if I stay in bed long enough, it'll get better? Or if I sleep long enough, it'll get better? Yeah, right. So let me ask you something. Chip. Chip is saying, I so needed to hear this today. That makes me very happy. Jonas is saying, we only have our awareness to cling to. Everything else is just perspective and construction. Absolutely. All right, so Linda's making a very good point. Getting out of this hamster wheel can be tricky. Yeah, you've got to time it right and do it right. So have any of you done it? Have any of you been in the hamster wheel and got out? If so, let's hear how you did it. Yes, Jody's saying, I identify with the sleeping it away thought. It doesn't work. It makes it worse because you're not living, right? Does that make sense? You're not living life. You are stuck in emotion. And that, quite honestly, right. So Jonas was in the emotional hamster wheel, and he's saying, yes, I've been meditating every day. You see, for some of you, actually stopping and meditating every day is a really good idea. For some of you, all right, then Jonas is saying mindfulness is the process of bringing attention to the present moment, away from thoughts of the future or past, or the preconceived judgments about the present. Yeah, so one of the things that I know that I do, Jonas, is I stop, all right? And I go, what's going on here? I think that's a pretty good question to ask myself. Wait a minute. You've obviously been ignoring the warning signs for quite a while that you just had this meltdown. So what's going on here? And Linda's saying, quite honestly, Sal, I refer to you. Okay, what would Sal say or do? That hamster wheel is a real so-and-so, isn't it? So here I was beating up on myself and doing all those things. So I was comparing myself again. I do that in August. I compare the story of Dear Mama Sal with people, and I seem to fail miserably when I do that comparison. How many of you know that comparisons is really a dangerous place to be? If you are comparing yourself with others, they don't have your challenges, they don't have your financial situation, they don't have your life, all right? So when you start comparing yourself to others, it is a very dangerous thing. How many of you have heard me quote Desiderata? And in there is a line that comparing yourself to others, because there will always be greater and lesser people. Jonas said, I come up with a random word to keep my mind on. Today, that word is sanctity. Every time I catch myself getting distracted or too attached to an unproductive thought, I bring myself back. Yes, a good one. So I find that what I do to get out of the hamster wheel is I talk, this is just my way. I sit down and I write down exactly what I'm feeling. I'm frustrated, I'm angry. I think I should give up doing Dear Mama Sal. That was on the list, by the way. I prayed. I don't mind telling you that. I prayed because I when I get confused, I pray really hard. And the funny thing was that I got an answer. And that's always shocks me when I get that answer. And it was pretty down clear to me what the answer was. And, and I'll share it with you because it was really, I've had the answer before. And I said, should I give up doing Dear Mama Sal? And the answer was, why would you do that? You're doing my work. And I just went, okay. And, I have always said that if it helps one person, then it's worth doing. So, Chip already told me today that it's worth doing because it helped Chip. So you look at it and you go, we need to ask ourselves these questions. Linda's saying, I talk to myself about what my problems are. And I also put on my salisms and talk to myself. Yes, it's like being on a water slide. If you put your hands in the side of the slide, you won't get anywhere. You just have to let things flow and not identify with this other voice that isn't you. Well, I do listen to God's voice. I have to tell you that. I see that I've got, if you like, the good and the bad sitting on two different shoulders. And I want to listen. Funny enough, Jonas, I do listen to both sides. I do listen to both sides because I believe in the negative there are answers. And, that is just my experience, that I don't want to ignore the input here because it's trying to tell me something. And so, isn't it interesting that when we compare ourselves to others, it is said that people share their highlights, not their lowlights. And one of the things that I have always said, that if, before I even started Dear Mama Sal, when Benji said, I want to share you with the world, I said, if I do it, I will tell my truth. And that's why I'm doing this broadcast today. Yes, Jonas is saying, don't suppress any of the thoughts because it'll only make it worse. So the fact that thinking I'm a loser, I ask myself, okay, Sal, what makes you think you're a loser? And my answer was, well, look how long I've been doing Dear Mama Sal, and we are staying at the same number of subscribers, and and the views are at this level. They're not growing, and I'm doing all this work, and for why? Okay, interesting, right? So Linda's saying the negative sides. Oh boy, my 5-minute rule has been a life changer, Sal. You and your teachings really work. Well, that's why I'm going to tell you that I didn't do this for very long, Linda. You know that. I quickly wrote some notes down. Jonas is saying denial of suffering is also a form of suffering. You bet. You have to sit down with what you are. Turn the mirror. Good. Not what you want to be, and not with what you're pretending to be. So here's what I do. By the way, do any of you want to know what causes this lost feeling? Yeah, what actually causes it, right? And I want to just make sure people understand that, so they just don't think that they're going, bananas here. If you get too busy, you're likely to get into that vortex. If you lack any clear direction, you are likely to have that happen. If you're trying to do too many things, how many of you know that one? You're too scattered. You're trying to do too many things at the same time. Or what about if you are fearful? All right? If you're anxious, if you lose your self-esteem, guess what? All right? So all of those things were part of what was happening to me. And everybody feels it occasionally. All right, I need you to understand that. Everybody feels it. I don't care who you are. So the question is, how do you overcome it? I see it as a time for a change, right? In other words, and everybody's got their own way of getting out of the hamster wheel for this one. Some people will go for a long walk with nature. Some people will do all sorts of, okay, so Linda's going off for movie night. Enjoy it. Hi, Nicholas. Good to see you there. Enjoy your movie. And we love you dearly. So, and by the way, Linda, I don't know if Nicholas can hear me, but I wondered if he'd like to learn how to make cheese from yogurt. I'm busy playing with that now. And when I was doing it, I thought, oh, Nicholas would like this. All right. So number one rule, in my view, is understand that nothing is going to change unless you do something, right? And that's not go to bed and pretend it's not happening, right? That is not, cry yourself to sleep and not do anything. It is, you need to do something constructive about what's going on. The other thing is feeling sorry for myself. Oh, it's not fair. And, I do all this hard work and da-da-da-da. That's not going to fix it. It's a pity party. It's not going to fix the problem. By the way, from your experiences, do excuses fix the problem? Well, I would do better, but, I'm so busy with this, that, and the other. And is that going to fix it? I don't think so. And then I remember my emotion is my responsibility. How many of you got that one firmly in your mind now? My emotion is my responsibility, not somebody else's, right? So this is called Smarten Up Now. So the first thing I did was to have a little assessment. That's what I do. I have a little self-assessment. First thing, I check in as what if is what I'm saying to myself true? Okay. So remember that thing, oh, I'm a failure. So I asked myself, is that true? Sal, seriously, is that true? And then I thought, well, let me go and find out how well Dear Mama Sal has done on the books. Let's have a look. I'm going 1.4 million viewers. I don't think that is a failure, Sal. Could be wrong, but I've got a feeling there are an awful lot of people that would give a great deal to have 1.4 million people visit their site. The other thing is, I know for a fact, and I wrote this down, Dear Mama Sal has saved lives. It's helped agoraphobics, people who when they came to Dear Mama Sal couldn't get out of the house and did. We have helped people with anxiety. We have helped people with eating disorders. We have helped so many people. How could I possibly sit here and say I was a failure? We have done incredibly good work. And I needed to hit myself over the head with a 2x4 on that one. How could I possibly say that about myself? And Jody's saying, you saved my life, literally. So then I accepted the fact that I was overwhelmed. Okay. Now then, let me ask you, because you're bright people here. When you are overwhelmed, what is the solution? Don't get rocket science on me, just very simply, if you are doing too much, what is the answer? The most simple answer you can think of. If you are overwhelmed, what do you need to do? All right, so Jonas is saying about the Dear Mama Sal thing, don't read views or subscribers as a lack of success, Sal. I can tell you this community has been there for me when I had no one. Yeah, exactly. Jonas, and that's the 2x4, all right, that I had to hit myself. How dare I say that? All right, so Jonas is saying, if you're overwhelmed, take it as it comes, address each thing one at a time. What can you do now? Yeah, actually, what I have to tell you is that when I get overwhelmed, I need to stop. Jody's saying, streamline. I need to do less. And yeah, that's the simple answer. If you're overwhelmed, you need to give yourself less. I cannot tell you how long my to-do lists are. They are horrific. And I get up and I've got so many bits of paper going on that I just don't know where to start. And it is scary. So the answer to overwhelm is underwhelm, all right, is do less. Now that means you've got to prioritize. How many of you know that story? So my question was, do I need to do less on Dear Mama Sal? Do I need to drop a broadcast, for example? And if so, which one? And so that came into my thought pattern as well. So can you understand that for a lot of the things I was saying to myself on the negative side, I was lying to myself. They were rational lies. All right. Jonas is saying, also, I think we can speak for many of your viewers in saying your help and perspective has been passed on to people in our lives outside the Dear Mama Sal community. You bet there's always a ripple. And I love it when I have had people write to me and say, you don't know me, but so-and-so talked to me about you and said, you do know that you can always, if your friends have got problems, they just need to write to me and I will do what I can to help. You know that. So do you understand that I was busy lying to myself? All right, that I was a failure. I was lying to myself that, dear Mama Sal is, not valuable to people anymore. I was lying to myself. Why? Why would I lie to myself like that? Do you know that feeling? So if you've done it, why do we do it? Why do we do that and just completely bash our self-esteem and everything else? And I know I'm not the only one that's done it, right? I know you've done it too. So why do we lie to ourselves? Can you think about that? Wow, that's interesting. Jody's saying, I had a chat with my lab technician today, and she wants to hear Soul Sunday to help her manage her stress. Yeah, she wants to. The question is, will she? And it's really interesting, Jody, the difference, right? Because we know that as well. An awful lot of people say what they want to do, but will they do it? All right, because they'd rather stay stuck than take a step forward. So seriously, can any of you give me any feedback as to why we lie to ourselves? Why would I say such a thing? And I would suggest that part of the problem is that if I beat up on myself, I can feel sorry for myself, right? By the way, in terms of the lie about the numbers of viewers, I looked back because that's what I do. I well, what's the reality here, Sal? Stop the emotional stuff. What's the reality? And I looked back, and guess what? We got more viewers this August than we had last. I don't think that's a failure. All right. Yes. If you compare yourself to others, we would all see ourselves as a failure. There's always somebody to compare yourself to. And we don't compare ourselves to similar people. Have you noticed how we compare ourselves with people, doing all sorts of different things? But you also understand, Jonas, I will actually add a lot of fire to that, but I've been doing this for nearly 8 years now. Coming up 8 years next week. So hello, I should have done better than this. All right. So Jody's saying it's hard to face emotion because it requires work to turn it around. You bet. All right. So that's why a lot of people say, oh, I really should listen to that, but I probably won't, right? So why do I beat up on myself every August? Because every August I see this trend of the viewers. Well, what I forget is it happens every August. For the 8 years you've been doing this, it's done it. So what's the point, Sal? Why are you doing this? And by the way, what happens in the fall? Amazing. So, when I did the math and really, sat down because I had to stop and go, am I lying to myself? Let me see. And I went, okay, well, that's a lie. You're doing better than this time last year. The other thing I do, and I don't know about you guys, but I talk to the people two things. I want to talk to somebody who knows me and my excuses really well. And I want to talk to somebody who knows where my soul is at, the whole reason why I do Mama Sal in the first place, right? That they totally get it. And the third thing is I need to talk to somebody who's not afraid to tell me the truth. Okay, so that I did straight after I checked how much I was lying to myself. Right, so I first of all turned the mirror and looked at myself, and then I said, now asking for help is a sign of strength. I know that. So who am I going to talk to? So who do you think? I mean, you guys know me pretty well. Who do you think I phoned? Who did I speak to? Who would know me that well and knows me that well? So to me, I was not looking for sympathy. Do you guys get that? I don't want to talk to somebody who's going to feel sorry for me or try and say it's okay, don't worry. All right. Oh, Jody says Bonnie and my friend Yvonne and Benji. Well, actually, I couldn't talk to Bonnie because she was at work. But I did speak to Marnie and Benji. Okay. And what, see, I didn't spend a lot of time explaining the situation. I just told them I've lost direction. I need help. I didn't give them all the excuses. I've just lost direction with DearMamaSal and I need help. So that's what I asked Benji one question. What do I do now? Now, my difficulty is to shut up after I ask the question. How many of you relate to that? Because almost everything he tries to tell me, I will go, yes, but I tried that. No. It's very difficult. And, I love Benji to bits because I do it to him every time. And I'm learning not to do it as much. I still do it, people. Do any of you relate to that? Somebody is genuinely trying to help you and you're busy going, yeah, but. However, here's what Benji said, and I loved him for it. He said, Sal, go back to your roots. And he said, you help people. That's what you do. That's why I wanted to share you with the world, because your ability to help people. And he said, and people need you more today than ever before. There's more need for DearMamaSal today than anything else. So he said, focus on that again. How many of you know I got a bit scattered on what DearMamaSal was about? Right? And I was having quite a lot of fun, and I will still do some of the other stuff. But I want to go back to concentrating on coping. How do we cope better? You understand? That is, every broadcast is going to start with the coping mechanism. And then we get on afterwards to general chit chat, and I will show you what I've been up to or whatever. But I want to go back to being somebody that helps people cope. So that if you don't know anything else about me, that's what or us as a group, that's what our reason for being here is that we help people cope. So then, what question did I ask Marnie? I asked her one question. And sometimes, your answers you're going to get are in direct proportion to the quality of your question. Right? And so, Benji, what do I need to do? Marnie, I know Marnie is in an environment where she hears a lot going on all the time. And I said, Marnie, what are you hearing from your people? What do they need help with? Can you understand why I asked her that question? And it was amazing. She said, how much time have you got? And she started to give me the reality of what she was hearing out there. And so I want you to do me, if you wouldn't mind, and do us a really big favor. I want you to start opening up your ears and your eyes and start really hearing what people are scared of. I want you to start really thinking about what is it that's going on in your community. And then what I'd like you to do is to feed those things back to me so that I can start giving you the tools to help your people. All right? So maybe you don't need those tools because you are already, emotionally past that. But I'd like to make sure that you have enough tools to pass on. So let me know, what are they saying? What are they scared of? And then how can we help them? What I'm wondering is what I thought I would do, and I'd like your input on this. Actually, I've got a number of things that I'm asking for here, but one of the things I wanted to do was to maybe start every broadcast with a question. All right, and or a statement, and then address it. For example, my whole thing about feeling lost. And I want to do that because I believe that there are a lot of people out there at the moment who are probably feeling lost. Have any of you heard that from people? Maybe they've literally lost their job and now they're feeling totally lost. Maybe they've lost a relationship and feeling totally lost. Maybe, as we heard with Bernice, they've lost a parent that they couldn't even say goodbye to and feeling totally lost. And I want to give a moment to really give a big round of applause to Bernice, for those of you who know Sakura. One of the things that I've been fascinating to watch with her is that she still did the do it day task. All right? Did she have every excuse in the world to say, oh, I can't do it this week because my daddy died this week? No. She actually sent me the before picture and then sometime later sent me the after picture. How many of you are going, she took the time to look after her mental health? Jody is saying, lost in directionalness, not confident about what steps to take next that will create any amount of security. Yeah, you see, I think if I can just slap my head around a bit right now, figuratively, not literally, and understand we have more work to do right now than we have ever needed to do. Jonas is saying, one thing that you taught me, Sal, is that we over worry. We waste more time worrying about the things we cannot shift and that make us sick. And that care is different. Yes, absolutely. And that we can care without having to take a toll on our mental health. I can care about Bernice going through the grieving process, but that's not going to help her, right? Doesn't help her one iota that I worry myself sick about. Is she okay? And is she beating up on herself I just make sure that I keep in touch and tell her, send me a picture. All right, I will. I can help Bernice because I know how Bernice works. She is the one that taught me to take a picture by her example. She just, if you're overwhelmed, take the snapshot picture in your mind, or literally. If I cleaned up the whole deck by taking one snapshot picture, and then every day I repeated the picture until it was tidy. And, I have to thank Bernice for that because she taught me that. But what if we do that with our lives? What if we do that with our lives? Oh, by the way, we will be making changes. You know that, right? And that'll be uncomfortable for some. Forgive me. Because we will be going back to doing more work on the mental health side. The other thing is we will be testing some things and we might even drop something. But be ready. Life is changing, and so we will too. But we will, I believe, still keep the core of what we do. And by the way, tonight's broadcast, I will be talking about how to cope with gift giving on a limited budget, right? We will still be talking about coping. But now, how do we do that if we don't have very much money? So everything is going to have that sort of focus. And we're going to be talking tonight about Blackboard stuff, which I hope will amuse some of you. Oh, excuse me. How can we have allergies when we had a big storm last night? I don't know. So please, if you can, listen to what's being said out there. Be it with your friends, what are they writing to you about, right? And feed it back to me. Like, let me know what they're angry about. Let me know what they're frustrated about. Why? Because I can build segments around it. I don't have to mention their names, but guess what? I can build a segment around it that maybe you can pass on and help them. I would also like to encourage you to share Dear Mama Sal with people. You know, as Jody was saying, that she came across somebody and said, you know, she really needs to listen to the Soul Sunday broadcast. And if you wonder why, let me ask you, how did you find us? Jonas, how did you find us? And Jody, how did you find us? And Chip, how did you find us? You know, and the rest of you, how did you find Dear Mama Sal? I'm pretty sure that very few of you stumbled across us by accident, right? It is my suggestion. Jonas said, I had seen you in the Judy vlogs. Yes, right? And some of you saw me in December and went, oh, she looks like fun. But you know, it's like 9 times out of 10, there's a reason you didn't know me and then you did. And then you got brave and you came along to the broadcast. And I am forever grateful. Yes, you see as well. Valdo is saying, I found you through the Judy and Benji on Blog TV. Wow, that's way back when. Chip is saying, I found you by way of YouTube suggestions way back when you would drive to work. Yes, my word of the day stuff. All right, interesting. And Jonas is saying, and then I watched your vlogs for a while. Jody's saying, live stream from Benji's kitchen, getting ready for December. Somebody asked you a question and your answer got me thinking, I must get to know this magnificent woman. All right, and Jonas is saying, but it wasn't for a while until I felt comfortable to actively participate in the broadcast. You know, Jonas, that's the other thing. It amazes me, and Jody will tell you because I've been sending her clips. You know, I'll write something on Facebook, and I've started doing something. I've started checking the names of the people who hit the like button or a love button or whatever, and their names on there, I have no idea who they are. So I know that we are reaching people that we don't see on the stream. They may be listening. They may be watching all the vlogs for all I know, but we don't know about them, right? They're in the shadows. And so, but we need to keep doing the work. The other thing I would like to ask for you, if you are a regular, and if you have in any way had any help from Dear Mama Sal, I would like you to please write to me and let me know specifically, what were you struggling with? How did it help you? And by the way, did it help you as well coming regularly to the Dear Mama Sal broadcasts? That's what I want to know. Have the broadcasts been valuable to you, or have the vlogs been more valuable to you? I'd really like your input on that. I also want to know what fears you are having. And by the way, if you guys are okay with me mentioning your name, just say it's okay to mention my name, just so that I know. Otherwise, I'll just say one viewer wrote to me and I have, you know, proof of that. But this is what they said. I also want you to please write to me if you can, make the time, and let me know what your fears your fears are. Don't feel embarrassed by them. Just what do you fear in the next 3 months? What is your biggest fear? What is your biggest frustration at the moment? What is your biggest challenge at the moment? You know, in terms of your mental health or whatever. Let me know what those things are, because if you are feeling it, other people are in different ways. So I want to make sure that we keep on track. And by the way, do you guys watch me and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter as well? Or do you only come to the broadcast? Those are the sort of questions. And by the way, if you're watching all of this on the replay, please leave your comments below so that I will have the answers, or write to me. Now then, for those of you who are here today, I've got a little exercise for you. And those of you who will watch it on the replay, I want you to take a moment and just get back into your life, all right? I'm going to read you a headline. And what I want you to do is, when I read the headline, I want you to really concentrate on what that headline brings up in your mind. And if you happen to have a piece of paper and a pencil next to you, maybe quickly write it down. Exactly what comes into your mind when I read the headline. Does anybody want a second just to get a pen and a piece of paper? If so, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead. Now, there's a really good reason why I want to do this exercise. Jonas is saying, Sal, I remember I was anxious about my first job interview, and you created a whole broadcast segment based around interview tips. I'm thankful for that and the emotional support I got from this community. Yay. Okay. Yes, Jonas, write to me anyway, because I am not. Oh, maybe Jody can take a screenshot for me on that one. She's good at that. Here we go. This is the headline. And the headline was this: California confirms its first human case of the plague, the bubonic plague, in 5 years. California, this was this week, California confirms first human case of the bubonic plague in 5 years. What goes through your mind? Boom, 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 boom. All right, so let's get some feedback. When you hear that headline, what emotions hit you? Where did you go into shock? You're going, the bubonic plague? Wasn't that, yeah. How many of you had a moment of horror? Did any of you have any fear? And did any of you have any panic? And if so, that's okay. Let's hear what your emotions were. Jody's saying, all right, Jody's first thought is, what's that person going through? Typical Jody thing, right? At the moment. How do we contain it? She said, I felt anxious and sad. Okay, thank you, Jody. All right, anybody else got an instant reaction to what you felt? Because that's what we're trying to do. The exercise is about feel the feelings. Make sure you can feel what's happening to you in the moment, all right? When you read something like that. Because the next step is, what are you going to do about it? Right? So one is, this is what happens when I read something like this. Now, my next question is, what is your next step? Or do you sit, Jody, with those feelings? Chip said, I thought, what next? So much doom and gloom out there already. Yeah, I can hear anger in that. Am I right, Chip? There was a level of anger about it. So like, really? What next? And by the way, don't ask what next, because you might get it. But it's like, yes. Interesting. So I read it like the rest of you, and I went, short word, which I won't repeat. And then my next thing, before I did anything else, I hit the internet. You understand? For me, the very next thing I do is this coming from a credible source? Does that make sense to you? So I read this comment, and now I want to know, is this a credible source? Or is this made up by the conspiracy people or whatever? So, Jody's saying, what I do is I pray, and then I figure out how to stay safe and help others stay safe as well. Information is power. All right. So that's why I look first before I worry about how to help people. All right. First, I want to make sure that it's a credible thing. So I did. I checked it out. And when I checked it out and saw that ABC had reported it, NBC had reported it, CNN had reported it. Like 5 majors had all reported on this story. So therefore, I'm pretty sure that it's a true story. Do you get my drift? I also checked it out on Snopes. Let me just write that in so people know what that is. SNOPES, for those of you watching on the replay. Snopes hadn't got it in there, so therefore it's okay. And last of all, I checked on Google, but Google can be confusing because you can end up with conspiracy links as well. So that's always the last one I do. What I'm doing is I'm going for where is it written from or talked about in places that I recognize. But then I didn't stop there. And that's what I wanted to tell you, how my thought process goes. All right. I decided to dig a bit deeper. This is what I found out. And I quote, I can't tell you from where. I think it was the government thing in the US. The US averages 7 cases of the plague each year, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. That's where I got it, sorry. In 2006, the cases reached 17. Next question to you. Now that you have that piece of information, does it change your initial reaction at all? Do you understand what I'm saying? Now that you know that we get 7 cases of that, you do in the States, you get 7 cases of that every year, an average, and it has been as high as 17. Instantly, Jody says, I feel less anxious. So what's the lesson? That is the point that I wanted to make here. When you read a headline that affects your mental health, i.e. you feel scared or frustrated or whatever, what are you going to do? All right. The first thing you do is check it out, please. Some of you have been around long enough to know that we had one viewer that really believed every single thing they ever read on all the conspiracy theory places and everything else. And, quite honestly, it was scary to listen to that viewer. All right. And my heart bled for them because they're not dealing in facts, they're dealing in fiction. And so what I'm trying to say is that if you want to get out of being scared and get on with living, you need to check out the facts here, because we know that's what gets you into reality, is dealing with facts, not emotion. True? Right? If you want to stop feeling, you need to feel the feelings, but the feelings will not help you live unless you're doing something. So the thing is this, that if you get something that affects your mental health, what you need to do is some work. And that is the point that I really wanted to make. When I had those feelings, I could have just said, okay, fine, I'll close down DearMamaSal and not worry, and spend more time on me. How many of you know, who was I kidding? um, how many of you believe I could have done it? So what I needed to do was to find out what the goal was. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. But first of all, before I do that, I wanted to acknowledge some birthdays. We had Lionel's birthday this week, and on the 19th. And Jody made him this incredible cake. And it was was it a ladyfinger cake or a wafer cake? Wafer, right? Anyway, it looked wonderful. And I'm going, I wish I'd been there. I think little baby Lily, Beth's granddaughter, I think it's her birthday around about this time. Oh, it's the famous wafer icebox cake. All right, interesting. So if Beth happens to listen to this, or if we see her tonight, Jody, can you just remind me to ask her when baby Lily's birthday is? Lolo, for those of you know who Lolo is down in Louisiana, it's her birthday tomorrow. And Beth's on the 26th. And yours truly on the 30th. So, you know, it's a good month for birthdays. It's a good week for birthdays. Oh, and we got Doug, for those of you who know Dougie. It's his birthday on the 25th, and it's DearMamaSal's birthday on the 25th. Benji pressed the button to start DearMamaSal on YouTube at 10:30 on the 25th of August, 2012. I remember him going, there you go, you're now a YouTuber. And I said, what the f is that? I'm not joking. I really had no idea what a YouTuber was. So bad was I that when he came to visit me, he said, is it okay if I quickly vlog something? And I just went, whatever. Yeah, sure. And I carried on cooking, but I carried on talking to him because I didn't know what he was doing. I could hear him talking, so I was talking back. What did you say, honey? I learned. Anyway, so at 10:30, he hit the button and said, there you are, you're now a YouTuber. And I said, what's that? And he said, you'll find out. I just want to share you with the world. And I said, what do I do next? He said, you'll work it out. I want to tell you, I cried for about a month because I had no idea how to do it. And then I tried my first live broadcast. And that was not on YouTube in those days. It was on Blog TV. And I sat in the first broadcast for 20 minutes on my own. Nobody came in and talked to me. But on the other hand, I had to keep talking because, you know, otherwise, why would anybody come in? And then it was really scary stuff, people. And I cried a lot. I cry at the memory, quite honestly. But I didn't quit because that's not what I do. And I kept going. And then slowly people came. So I want to also ask you if you all know that in my other life, that part of what I do is I help people who are preparing to go for interviews. Now, my specialty is to get people into med school, but I have helped all sorts of different people get into all sorts of different jobs in my time. And part of the reason I want to keep mentioning that is it's possible that you have people in your life who have got somebody preparing to do a job interview or get into university or whatever. And I want to make sure that you know that I do that. And I will start advertising that in the middle of blogs and things so that, you know, you guys remember that. And, you know, for example, I remember Pat got her daughter to work with me a little while before she did her interviews to get in, and she got into Harvard. So, you know, it was good fun. Because what I found is this, all right, and I probably will do a couple of standalones just on those sort of topics, because I don't help people in terms of their knowledge of the subject. What I help people with is, do you sound like you deserve to be in this university? All right. Do you sound like you are mature? Do you sound like you know what you're talking about? Do you sound like you know why you're doing what you're doing? And also, can you answer just about any question they throw at you? And that's what I work on with people, to build their confidence in terms of the actual process, which is really, really important. So I was thinking as well that as jobs are going to have more and more people applying for them now, you know, to have that advantage is also really important. So my request to all of you is, please help me help people. There's something else. How many of you know my thing about there are no coincidences? I always talk about that. Have any of you noticed, I'm not wearing them now, but have any of you noticed I've got these heart earrings? And on Tuesday, on Monday, I had been wearing them. And on Tuesday, midday, I realized I had lost heart, one of my hearts. I had lost heart. And how many of you are going, wow, that's amazing? And I just went, okay, got that message. I lost heart. You see, I believe in those sort of things. Now, I am systematically doing everything I can to find that other earring. So let me ask you, do you think I was a bit sad about that? Do you think I was a bit angry about that? Do you think I was busy going, well, if you took your earrings off at night and put them where they're meant to go, all that stuff. But you know, that's not going to help me. Right? What's going to help me is if I do the things that are going to either help me find the earring or move on. Does that make sense? So I am systematically putting, those of you who know I've got Clarence the cleaner, I have a robotic cleaner. I am sending Clarence under the bed. I am sending Clarence under all sorts of things. You know, I'm getting him to sweep everywhere I can think of. And then I'm very carefully going through all the garbage to make sure, you know, before I empty it, to make sure the earring isn't there. Now, I'm pretty sure that my earring is caught up in a carpet somewhere, is my feeling, but I could be wrong. And so I will, after I've done the whole Clarence thing, I will then get down on the floor and systematically with a light check under everywhere I can think of. That did this get kicked underneath here, and then the hook part got caught on the carpet. So I will then check all my carpets to see, okay, is that where they are? And I will continue to do that for as long as it takes, probably for about a month. And if I still haven't found it, then here's what I plan to do. I plan to let go of the emotional attachment to the one earring. No, I probably will keep the one earring, you know that. It'll hang on my Christmas tree or something. But, I will keep that one heart. But I need to get on with life. So what's the next step, people? What do I need to do? Do I get myself a new set of earrings in the shape of a heart? Because obviously I love them to bits. I wore them a lot. So you see, this is like, or am I going to hang on to the misery of trying to find it and beating up on myself? No, I don't think so. So I'll spend a little time trying to find it. And you and I both know that the day that I order up the new ones, I will probably find the other one or not. But I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm going to do something about it. So here are the questions around this. Will getting upset about losing the earring bring it back? No. Will getting angry at myself about not taking my earrings off at night bring it back? No. And what if I don't find it ever? Is it going to dramatically change my life? No. It's a moment of sadness. There is a moment of grieving. Remember what we talked about last week about the cycle of loss? I'm going to grieve it, but then I'm going to move on if I need to. I will not lose heart. I will be grateful for the time that I had it. Make sense? I will buy something as close to it as I can find, or even nicer, and move on. So I wonder whether any of you during the week will either hear a story about somebody losing their way or losing heart. And if so, please let me have it so we can share it with other people. Or maybe you hear a story about somebody who lost their way and found it again, and you have the ability to be able to find out how they did that. Right? Let me know so we can share it with people. And now, I wanted to say that it is sometimes very, very difficult to change. One of the things that Benji said to me was the feeling that you have of being scattered is because you are. And it also is the reason why the channel hasn't grown the way it deserves to. So I said, what are you saying? And he said, you need to go back to focusing, Sal. Well, what he also said was, what sort of a channel are you? I said, yeah, DearMamaSal channel. Yep. And he said, yes, but what sort of a channel are you? And here's what he explained to me. And I want you to really hear this. I'm pretty certain you're going to get some reaction. So let me know what the reactions are so we can, process through that, because that's the exercise. He said to me, are you a helping channel, a cooking channel, a craft channel, a home channel? What are you? And I said, all of them. And he said, that's the problem. And let me explain why that's relevant. Because he said, Al, the big algorithm, doesn't know where to send you viewers, right? Because one minute he thinks he needs to send you viewers that are interested in coping, but the next day you're cooking. So now he goes, wait a minute, I got that wrong. Now I'm going to send people interested in cooking, but the cooking people come and they see your channel and you're busy helping people with coping things. They're going, wait a minute, I thought this was a cooking channel. And then they come and the next thing is you're in the garden gardening. And so then the cooking people are going, what's she doing in the garden? It's meant to be a cooking channel. Does this make sense to anybody else? And I said, but that's who I am. That is the very nature of me. 1 minute I'm doing one thing, 1 minute I'm doing the next. That is who I am. And he said, yes, I know that, Sal. But you asked me, how do we grow the channel? So then, with tears in my eyes, I said, are you telling me I can only do da-da-da-da? And he said, no, you could start other channels. What? He said, you could start the DearMamaSal Life channel and the DearMamaSal Cooking channel. But the problem is, that you can't do it all together. And, she said you could eventually do it. It'll just take a lot longer than you need to. And so now that's a big decision. All right. Do I start all over again, with different channels? Or he said, hey, Sal, you can just stay exactly doing what you're doing. And knowing you, you will eventually build it anyway, because it's, continue to build it, because it, has built a lot. But he said, if you want to do it first, this is what you need to do. And I don't know about you, but I'm going, the idea of trying to feed 3 channels is pretty horrific. And then the other thing was, well, hang on a second. Let me think about this. How do I do this? So do you all understand what the issue is? And what do you think? How do I do this and still remain who I am? How do I still do broadcasts that have general interest, not just some sort of interest? So the thing that I believe is that I can do what I do, but I need to segment it into other videos. And that actually was already what I'd started to do. Jody will tell you that I started to do that about a month ago. So that makes sense. But again, I've got to be careful, because do I only segment out the coping ones and put those up? And do I keep the broadcasts off the general feed? Right? Or do I just promote the links to it's all sorts of questions that I'm still working on at the moment. But you can understand why it's very complicated. Now, you've stopped making any comments here, so let me get some feedback here. What is your reaction to this? Do I do shorter broadcasts? Not necessarily. Because I think, I don't know. I'm still working on it. I don't have to have the answer this week, but I certainly would be interested in your feedback. In as much as, should I drop the broadcasts altogether? I don't think so. I think we've helped a lot of people with the broadcast. But the question that then becomes, would we help even more? If we segmented it into shorter videos. So let me know what you think. So many questions. And the rest of my life to solve them, right? So I just want to do the countdown before I forget to do that. Just hold on 1 second. All right, so Jody's saying a lot to sort out, but I will be happy with whatever you decide feels authentic to you and feeds your soul. Yeah, that's exactly what I said as well, which is I have to be very careful, because I am who I am. And for me to try and really pinpoint and focus on only one thing, I just don't think I would do it well. It wouldn't entertain me the way I would like to be entertained. But I also have to say, if I want to actually grow DearMamaSal as a channel, and if I wanted to support my my retirement in some way, I do need to focus a lot more carefully. I've just got to work out how I'm going to do that. Easter is 7 months away, and 2 weeks, by the way, which means that Lent is only 6 months away. Valentine's Day is just under 6 months away. Isn't that incredible? It's only 125 days until Christmas. And by the way, that's this evening's broadcast is more about interesting Christmas presents to give people. I've already started making my Christmas presents. Has anybody else? I know I've got to make them this year because I won't have the budget. So start early. We'll talk more about that this evening. You've got 3 months to get your cards in the mail. If you are somebody who makes your Christmas cards, it probably is time to start making them if you haven't already. Thanksgiving. There's a question. I wonder whether you guys could send me, when you send me input, I'd like to know what are the good things and the bad things about Thanksgiving. All right, let's do some segments about the people. What are you going to miss most this Thanksgiving if you can't get together? Right? What's the reality? What sort of pressures are you under from family and friends to still get together at Thanksgiving? Are you scared about that? What are you going to do? What's going to happen? I think we need to. I think we need to ask some of those questions so we can help people. What are you going to do when people start trying to emotionally blackmail you that you need to be there and you feel scared about being there? Okay. So any Thanksgiving type related questions that you or thoughts that you have, send them in to me so that I know. All right. You know, how, I'm thinking Jeannie just popped in, what is she going to do this Thanksgiving that is very different because she's not in her house, she's in this apartment, all those sort of things. Right. Jody's saying, I'm starting to write my Christmas cards already. I end up sending them late every year. Not this time. Yes, we got no excuses this year, right? Absolutely. So Canadian Thanksgiving is only a month and a half away. And I want to tell you, I am very sad about that. So that's why I wanted to do some talk about this Thanksgiving, because I think it's important that we address some of those emotions and thoughts and fears. I have now lived in my house let's see. Six months. Oh, let's see. Oh, and I've lived in the house for 7 months now. Can you believe it? In fact, 7 months and 2 weeks coming up. Wow. Jeannie's saying Misty, her dog, went to the internist and we finally can fix her health problems with 2 new meds. That's wonderful. May I share that with the regular viewers on Facebook, Jeannie? That would be good to know. And if any of you have any news or anything that you want to share with the viewers that couldn't be on this broadcast, please just let us know so Jody can give me a reminder to put it up on the thoughts and prayers. Yes, exactly, Jeannie. That's a great question. All right, so let me just write that down. Another piece of paper, people. That's all I need is another piece of paper. Okay, hold on 1 second. Of course, I got the paper, but no pen. Where's the fat pen I was writing with? There we go. Yeah. All right, so thanks. I appreciate that, Jeannie. So that's what I want to do is I want to have a lot of these sort of thoughts and fears, because if you are feeling it, Jeannie, other people are feeling it as well. I am. It's the same thing as, I've got a birthday coming up. And so guess what? I'm feeling it big time, because normally I'd have everybody over and, so forth. But then, all right, so let me see if you understand my thinking. What I decided was the first thing I did was to organize another community event next Wednesday. And just went, okay, fine, let's do this. Why? Because, that's a good way to start. I know that I can invite certain people that are in my pod, and I can invite them on different days. They don't all have to come on the one day, right? So, Jeannie, again, think about, and we'll talk about this. We'll start next week. These sort of Thanksgiving questions that are going to come up for people. The other thing is, how many of you get concerned about maybe eating somebody else's food? I think that's something I would like to have on the list as well. I want to do some research about the facts about food preparation and so forth, so that people are dealing with facts, not fiction. Would that help everybody? And, what is your experience? How many of you have been ordering from takeouts and so forth? I'd love to hear your experience with that and what your fears were and what your reality is. I found, for example, that I've got neighbors at the moment that have started going to McDonald's and actually go inside. And I sort of rolled my eyes a bit because it's like, wow. But they said there was only one other person in McDonald's. So, were they wrong? Where does our fear get too much? So I think it's time to really start having a look at that. And it's going to be a very personal thing, that's for sure. I also find it very interesting. I don't know if any of you noticed that, but I put up a picture of me sitting in the X-ray department of my local hospital, and everybody presumed there was something wrong. I find that interesting. And, really all I said was, that I was in the X-ray department. But it's interesting, nobody's sort of, or very few people actually bothered to find out why. They all presumed I was ill. Does that make sense? And is that human nature? But then I had a look at the picture and I went, well, you didn't have any eye makeup on and you did look a bit pale. So, and that blue did nothing for you. And so was it understandable that people thought maybe there was something wrong? All right, so Jeannie's saying, I always purchase a smoked turkey and made all the side dishes, but I don't want all the family here when some are interacting with many others who could be compromised. Exactly my point. Yes. I know Jodi's got the same problem in her family as well. So what do you think we should put that under? Which is, I think this is about, okay, I got to think about that. I think this is about know your lane, all right? Know your lane and stick to it. Okay, yes, we love them, but, yeah, Jodi's got the same problem with another issue. Jeannie, absolutely. So that's what we will do a broadcast on next week. That's a great topic, Jeannie. Thank you. All right, so Jodi's saying, we went to the drive-thru at Burger King. They were wearing gloves, they passed the food in a plastic basket, and they took the money in a plastic basket as well. Lionel wore gloves to push the pin pad. Yes, or take a stylus, right? So you can press one of these things, clip it onto your T-shirt or whatever, so you can do that. Yes, Jodi's saying we're having Thanksgiving, just the two of us. Yeah. Hi, Sharon. Sharon's saying, I ordered a Chinese meal last evening and it took 2 hours to be delivered. Delivery guy said they were so busy. A lot more people are using online meal orders in my area. Yes, that's what I'm hearing. But, as I said, my neighbors are busy they're going out almost every day to eat. Right? I noticed that they do that. And so that is very interesting to me, especially as they are my main neighbor. And so are they being risky? I don't know. And is it what do you call it, a crapshoot anyway? I don't know. But it is difficult. So that is interesting. I thought you would like to know that Marnie is off on vacation. How many of you are surprised? She actually saw this as an incredible opportunity, and she had 3 weeks worth of vacation days stored up, and she decided, I'm going to go on a 3-week vacation. And she is taking her mom and her doggies, and they are traveling all the way up to the Yukon, up through British Columbia to the Yukon, and then down through Alberta and back again. Jeannie's saying, I loved cooking the whole chicken. Yes, and having it for many meals. Did you find that a helpful broadcast? Because that really, to me, is also part of the mentality, all right? Which is people think that roasts are expensive, but they're not. They are actually the cheapest way to eat. All right. So I will be doing, I thought the next one I would do would be around beef, probably. And, I'd actually cook a roast of beef, but then we'd talk about what can we do with it? And what did people do with it? And, you don't have to buy prime rib. You can slow cook almost any kind of meat and it'll be wonderful. Jody said at the lab today, they were taking everybody's temperature and it was mandatory to use hand sanitizer and wear masks before entering the lab area. Absolutely wonderful. I'd like your support, please. Next Thursday, I need to go and get my A1C done. I promised myself I would do it this month and the month's running out. Yeah, I was quite surprised. And so now the next one I'm thinking of doing in terms of that big cook-up. You see, that's where I said to Benji, I believe that those cooking videos, doing things like that, are helping a lot of people cope better with limited budgets. He said it's a good niche, limited budget cooking. The only thing is, you're messing it up with your coping stuff. So if you want to do it, you need to do another channel. Or I'm going, if I like to do different things, can I take those different things and put them out? I don't know how to do this. I don't want to give up being who I am, and it's so scary for me. All right, so Jeannie's saying, previously I cooked a pot roast with vegetables, then I froze some. I gave one to a friend who doesn't cook. Who doesn't cook much. I defrosted another for us to eat. Yeah. All right, so Chip's saying he's right. I like the other channel idea. Okay, so what I'd like to do is to get some ideas. I've got to look at the cost of starting another channel. Never mind 2 of them. Or do I just start one channel, this is Dear Mama Sal's life, where I talk about all that stuff. So those are decisions. I'll talk to Benji a bit more and see what he recommends. Because I don't know. Like I put up my updates, things like the cubies. How many of you enjoyed that video? Did it make you chuckle? And so, when you look at it, it's like, I want to know what people are enjoying the most, as well as the work that I love to do. The other thing that I'm seriously considering is actually making some coupons for you. In other words, that if you know somebody who's struggling and maybe can't afford to get to the right sort of help, that you can give them a coupon and they can contact me and I can spend some time with them. Yeah. Yeah, Jody is saying that all right, so first of all, Chip said, a fresh start with the new cooking channel. That will be beneficial to so many people right now. I do believe that. Like I'm busy, as I said, this week, I'm busy experimenting with making my own cheese. I think it's all about, I want to do these. If you had to, could you do this type stuff, right? If you could only buy one piece of meat a month, could you feed yourself? And, those sort of things, right? If you only, if you needed to make cheese, could you do it? And that's what I'm trying in my fridge right now. I'm making cheese. Yeah, Jeannie's saying you may feel bad to limit yourself, but cooking seems an easy new channel. But So you see, but the problem I have is I've got the Dear Mama Sal helping people, Dear Mama Sal in the kitchen. Oh, I could do that, couldn't I? And Dear Mama Sal living life. Yeah, and that's a good point. So the cooking channel, if I had to start a second one, that's the one you'd recommend I do. Interesting. So let me ask you something, just so that I understand the why. What is it about, you see, because I'm not the world's greatest cook, in my view, right? Because I don't measure things properly and I don't do all those right things. So what is it about my cooking stuff that you enjoy? And I really thank you for the input. You're helping me make decisions. You probably realize that, but you are helping me make the decisions that I need to make. And the next question is, can I move videos from the Dear Mama Sal channel into the Dear Mama Sal cooking channel? Okay, so you like it that I make mistakes and that it's not perfect. I've created a monster genie, by the way. I had some neighbors over for dinner last week, and I foolishly baked my honey oat bread. Well, it was such a big hit that I've now created a monster. Right, so Jody's saying you've got the kitchen for it too. It's aesthetic and comfortable too. You're relatable, you make it okay, not to play by the rules of a recipe. An artist in the kitchen too, yes. Okay, so that is interesting because to me, I'm not going to be able to attract the people that want to know that you have to put 2.4 cups of this in. I need the people who understand that I huck in some salt, How much just throw some in, about this much, or a squidge of lemon juice, And to me, so if I can keep that amusement for myself, I can do it very easily. Jeannie, I'm having that problem. Yeah, I probably have to make bigger breads and share. I've already had to send one loaf out for that. Wow, that's interesting. Sharon's saying, I enjoy the simplicity of your cooking and it's not difficult to follow. All right, so that's exactly what I need to know, that you do. It's not that you want me to get all fancy. You actually like the fact I'm doing pretty easy stuff. You see, because I think I was one of those people. I know this is going to surprise some of you. I never thought of myself as a cook. Right? And it was Yvonne that I have to thank, because I cooked for Yvonne and Wade every week, every Sunday for 20 years, right? And she said, you don't know this, Sal, but you are one phenomenal cook. And I said, no, I'm not, because I don't read recipes. I go, oh, that looks pretty. And then I start throwing things in. And she said, that's the whole thing. Not many people can do that. And I said, well, anybody can do it. You just have to be brave enough and be prepared for the odd failure now and then. All right, Jody's saying, I'm a 2.4 cup person, but I've learned to relax and just go with the creative flow by watching you. You've helped me tremendously. Really, Jody? Interesting. You make it look easy? Really? Jeannie's saying, I did a pot roast, the whole chicken, etc. after you did those things. You are a good example. Okay, so this then is definitely, so simple cooking with Sal, or delicious, I'm trying to think. Like cookings in the 60s and 70s. Well, there is a reason why I'm doing these things. By the way, can you guys, yes, money savers. That's what I wanted. Money saving cooking. I bought the halogen convection oven because of your recipes for them. Really? Okay, that's good. So here's what I found though. You remember I did those wraps the other day? I was showing you that I did some wraps with some of the dough that I had left over. And I threw them in the freezer. Now, when I threw them in the freezer, I thought, well, I'm probably going to be throwing those out in 6 months. I pulled one out. I just want to tell you this. I froze it. I pulled it out. Quarantine cooking is what I'm thinking as well. Anyway, so I pulled it out of the freezer. And when it thawed, it was crispy. So I thought, well, if it's crispy, it means that when it thawed, it evaporated the moisture. Therefore, I took a spritzer and I just spritzed it and covered it with a tea towel. And the next thing is I had a perfect wrap. And I threw some cream cheese and some very thinly sliced cucumber on there and lots of black pepper. And I rolled it up. And I want to tell you something amazing. So what I realized was that I actually am teaching myself stuff by doing this. It's interesting. But I really didn't think I'd ever use those wraps. And the other day I thought, I don't feel like bread. By the way, last night, Jody, just so that you know, for those of you who know that I am pre-diabetic, last night I literally I had this yearning to have crepes late last night, about midnight. And I made a set of 3 crepes with purely almond flour, an egg, and some almond milk. And I made those, and I had 3 big ones, the size of my crepe maker, with lemon and sugar and, stevia. I mix stevia and brown sugar together, mostly stevia, but some brown sugar in there just for the taste. And I sprinkled it with that. And I want to tell you, my blood sugar was 6.4 this morning. This is good. That's good to know. So, yes. All right. So we need a name, though. I've got to work this out. So that's the point that Benji made, just so that you understand. Benji said the reason that he had DearMamaSal as the name of the thing was so it was like you were writing to me about your problems. So I'm thinking DearMamaSal helps, maybe, is one. And then DearMamaSal cooks as another. DearMamaSal, yeah. Or just leave. I've got to find out as well whether I can transfer, for example, I've got a whole playlist of cooking videos. Can I transfer those into another channel? I've got to find that out. Jody, could you? I can't find my pen. Could you just remind me, please? Jeannie's saying, when Misty saw the internist today, I made her a big Italian sandwich and she had no lunch and loved it. Oh, you made, not Misty, you made the internist a big Italian sandwich. All right, I got it. I'm going, what the? It reminded her of her mom. Yes. Isn't that amazing? So I think that's the other thing that that I'm seeing starting to happen. And I think we will see more of it. And I want to talk about that as well, which is, I'm apparently quite good at cooking my honey oat bread, multigrain, sourdough. But, my neighbor 2 doors down is busy with an unbelievable tomato crop. And then 2 doors down from that is my other neighbor who's got the greatest beans growing. You see, that's what I wanted, was for us to have this community where we could be self-sufficient. And it's happening. It's happening very quickly. And I didn't realize I was going to create it that quickly, but it's happening. It's just like, I guess all I had to do was talk about it, and people started doing it. And so I am now creating on my deck, I'm creating my fall greenhouse. I already built it. I built one greenhouse for the fall, and then I've also made it in such a way that if I want to, I can bring it inside for the winter. I can bring my greenhouse inside. Now, some of you are going, why would you do that? Well, because then I can eat in the winter. Now that I'm learning, I can eat in the winter for free if I wanted to. Well, Jodi's saying, I knew you'd create that community and be the heart of it. Absolutely no surprise to me. Yes, but it's interesting to me to see how many people will come to the second event, because what I keep challenging them on is what's the next thing we're going to do to help each other, right? And that's what I'm looking at. And I find that they're doing incredible things that I didn't know about, and that I go, wow, that is so awesome. Makes me feel much safer. So that is great. All right, everybody. So thank you for all your help. I appreciate that. I will, start working out how to make those changes. And I will probably keep asking you questions because you are now the core of the broadcast team. And just be aware that we will be making changes, and I will do the best I can within this. All right, Jeannie says, they will come. If you are a leader, you need to have fun. That's what I told them. We need to do this for our mental health. So thank you all for your input, and please continue to give it. I am aware that what we do at DearMamaSal is quite serious work. You know what I mean? Right? Because we don't tolerate the excuses, that we actually work on moving ourselves forward and so forth. And so therefore, I also need to understand that this isn't necessarily, a breakout type channel anyway. You see, the reason I did this was to help the people who want to have growth. Not the people who just wanted to complain, but the people who wanted to do something about it. And that to me I knew that I desperately looked for that when I was having problems. And I have noticed that we have helped an awful lot. Yes, I believe you've helped as well, Jeannie. I think your whole example of how you coped with what went on with the house has been incredible. And I'm certain that you have meltdown days on that as well. And so anything you have to feed back to us, if you happen to hear the front end of this, anything you have to feed back to me, maybe write to me and tell me, on Tuesday I had a meltdown, but this is how I got out of it. Those sort of stories are really important for people to hear. And, if you are okay with me sharing them, that is how we most help people. That's why I decided that I would tell you about my meltdown this week. And to show you that even with all that I know, all right, that this still happens to me. It's like, but how long do I stay in it? That is the important thing. So wonderful stuff, people. Thank you for your help. We will see you tonight. And tonight we will be doing... Hang on, let me find out. I know we're doing blackboard stuff, but we've also got a learning lesson in there. Let me just find out what I'm doing. How many of you going, Sal, you're meant to know? Yeah, I got to see the picture. I know I got the picture here somewhere. Just hold on one second. Come on, come on, come on. Some people would have gone to my phone. It would have been quicker, but never mind. We can do this. Breathe, Sal. I can't read what you're writing, people, because I'm busy getting to my list of upcoming videos. Hold on one second. Nearly there. Boy, it's a lot of different places I have to go to get to that. I'm certain Jody's probably already told me, but never mind. Okay, yeah. So tonight we're talking about coping with less money. That's it. And I knew there was and that's going to be my Friday evening topic now. Yep. Thanks, Jody. So that's going to be every Friday. We'll be coping with less money. So I think that I can do cooking stuff in there, right? As well, because this is about how do you cope with less money. And this one will be about gift giving. And I'm going to talk blackboards and blackboard paint and stuff that you can do with it. Which is, and I've got all sorts of levels of if you're really creative, you can do this. But, if you're just very basic, you can do this. So I'm hoping that it will inspire some of you to realize that for a couple of bucks, you can make a big difference. And you can still make it very personal if you want to. And we'll talk about that as well. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being there for me. And again, remember to look after one another, but like myself, every now and then, you just really got to sit down and remember to look after yourself first. And that is the only way that I can possibly help you guys, is to help myself do this in a better way. Because I really do need to be able to fund it. I really, and that is the other part of it, right? That now that I'm retired, the cost of doing DearMamaSal is, difficult for me. And so I'm trying to find ways that I can do this without commercializing it too much. But on the other hand, maybe I just need to do it. So we will find the way. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being here. And keep the faith, people. I want you to know we can get through this and we can do it together. And it will get worse before it gets better. And I doubt if we will ever go back to how it was. And maybe that's not a bad thing. I actually can think of ways that we've already improved our lives just by this pandemic. I wonder if you can. And I will add that to my list of things I'd like to talk about. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now and see you soon.